channel. So in this lesson we are going to look at how to do the form validation. If you can remember that my last video, I'll introduce how to do a basic form submission using the post or get method. So in this video we are going to put a next step, that how to do a basic validation. So what I'm trying to do in this video is to show you some of the features that we can use day to day when we are working with the form validation. So one is we may need to check whether it's empty or not, right? So because if you are going to do any functionality or if you are going to implement a logic, you need to check first that the data is exist or not. If it is exist, you may follow the next step. If not, you may provide error message. So next thing is, like, once you do the existence check, then you can do the trim part. That means, like, when user submitting the form, he may mistakenly or intentionally put in some spaces in front of the text or at the end of the text. So then we need to make it removed those unnecessary spaces and then collect the actual data from the form. So the third thing is sanitizing the output. So we know that for example, if you are giving a text area to type user to about a feedback or some kind of a lengthy message, so then the user has the opportunity of writing unnecessary commands, not about the text, it can be some of the harmful commands. So those things we may need to removed, because if you are going to execute in the backend, so that may leads to some of the issues in our backend application. So what we do is, in the sanitization, we are going to remove those kind of harmful things. So if you can remember, in my last chapter, last video, what I did was I had a basic form and that has a method of sending the data into the backend, that is post, and then I have a form submission page where the once form submitted, that will be handed this data into the contact underscore submit page. And then I inform that depending on the method that you choose to pass the data, most of the time it should be post method, we have two arrays built in PHP. If you are passing data to the URL, so that is a get method, then we can use the $_get array. If it is a post method, then we can use the $_post method. So the first thing we are going to look at is checking whether the user has sent the data to a specific method. So that can be post or that can be the get method. So for that I will write a condition. So I'll create if condition and then check for the server value. So I'll get a fixed value that is called request underscore method. So in this constant, what happens, we will be able to retrieve that the method the form has submitted. So we know that if it is the post method, then this constant should send us the value called post, otherwise it should be get. So what I do is, since I know the post method is used in our form submission, I'll make it compare with the post, right? So if it is post, then I'll be going inside the if condition. If not, I'll be having a else scenario to handle the next step. Okay, so we can try out this. So I'll put a echo here and I'll just print this method, so then I know that what I am getting from this array index, and then I'll move on to my page. So this is the contact PHP file, so I'll just put some dummy data into here and submit. Right, so you can see here I'll getting the value called post. So these are something we already aware that it's print the post array. So I can comment them because we don't need right now. Okay, so I know that the method is post. Then I will move on to the data existence. So for that we use the empty function. So the empty function will pass a boolean result if the pass resource is empty. So for example, if you are passing a variable to this function, the function will look at inside the variable and identify whether it has a value or not. If it has a value, then it will say false. If not, that means empty, then the function will pass true. So most of the time we may want to go with the opposite, that means the not scenario of the empty, because we are trying to do the work with the fill data, not with the empty data, right? So I can just have another if condition here, and then I can check this for empty. So what I do is I'll be collecting the putting the empty function, and then I'll pass my post array index. So the index which already have implemented here, you can see. So if I want to see the whether the title index has a value, so I can pass it title index to the empty function. So likewise I can think about the other scenarios as well. So I'll be using the O operator because my requirement is at least one turn to fail. That mean I am not supposed to execute the next step. So I can again put the empty function and then pass the email, and then again can pass the description. So if one of this set to fail, I can simply raise an error saying that form fields cannot be empty. So I'll just put a message saying so here we have one issue, that is like we don't know exactly what was set to empty, right? So we just give a generic message, but if we think about like to give a individual message, so then we need to narrow down this if condition into into each and every input field. So you may need to do a nested if condition and then create whether the first if condition you check the title, then the next condition you check the email. Likewise you will be checking onto the description as well. Okay, so then I'll move back to here and refresh the page and submit. So I'm getting the form field cannot empty. That means I place all the three places empty, right? So how about like I miss the description, but still I will get the error because I have placed the O operator to capture individual. So in the else section we know that this is something that we can do the next step. Right. So the next step what we can do is we can do the trim. So trim part, we will again pass these indexes. So I can create a variable for individual value. We'll say this is title, and pass this as the title. So this one I'll put it onto the trim function. Likewise, I can do it to the email, and the description. Right. So then that will do the trim and then put it onto the variable. So I can print them like now. Here or not, I can do with this variable rather than using this post array. So if I just do echo the title, and for that I'll put a line break, concatenate the line break, and then the email and the description. So going back, refresh the page, test product, email, BC. So you can see I will get the 3 values, and this time I can simply put some spaces at the beginning and here. So you can see still the values are passing without having any spaces, because it will do the trim. Otherwise you will be having extra spaces with this text. So the third option is we'll do the sanitizing. So this will be mainly focusing on the description value, because in the description area we'll be having the opportunity of adding some extra values. So for example, we'll say I'll put a h1 tag like this, and then do the submit. Now you can see that the value which was printed here, it's exactly count the h1 as a HTML tag. That's why the text turned to bold and the font size also modified. So we don't need this. What we want to do is we want to convert this into um, a different character format and then keep it. So whenever we want, we'll be show this as a different information, right? So because in the database we may not need to save it as the h1 tag, right? Because if it is going to execute in the back end, so that value will leads to some more issues. So what you can do is, for that you can pass this. Once you do the trim, you can use the HTML space, so special chars. So for that you can pass like this. So if I refresh this page now, you can see I don't get the actual h1 tag as HTML tag. It's coming as a symbol or a specific letters with the left angle bracket h1 tag and the right angle bracket. It doesn't means to have it as a normal h1 tag. So this will be very helpful, because this data finally will be passing to the database. So the database should be clean without having any extra issues. So I hope you got the idea. So we learned how to do the empty, how to use stream, and HTML special character. So in next steps we'll be look at how to do uh, to submit data into the back database, right? So from that we may try to again get some data from the database. Okay, so I'll stop the session for today. So we'll meet on next day. Thank you all.